Welcome to the Live Wildly podcast, a space where we explore how to live our wildest expressions while nourishing our hearts. Here, we cover all things motherhood, spirituality, health, wellness, and more. I'm your host, Olivia Ashley, a mama, intuitive, and seeker of a joyful, inspired life. Let's dare to live wildly. Hello. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about challenges, not in the sense of those big goals. When I think of, I'm going to go hike and climb this really big mountain, and so I need to do all this preparation and to meet this goal. We can decide to bring certain challenges in our lives in effort to meet pretty big goals. And I might touch on that a little bit, but what I really want to focus on is what I think of as more mundane challenges. These are the challenges that I don't think we'd even consider challenges. These are the things that we just face with our day-to-day, with the choices that we make, with the families and friends that we have. When I really feel into challenges, it feels like challenges are this thing that everyone is going to have. No one escapes. And that's what we're going to explore today. So get excited. We're going to dive in. I'm going to have you feel into what challenges you're facing, and we're going to explore that topic some. So welcome to another week. And I want to give you some life updates before I jump in and go into more of the challenges. But I think this week it's all going to mesh because in all honesty, I feel challenges front and center. And what's going on in my life right now is I am 2 weeks from returning to work, and that feels enormous. I currently pretty much exist around the schedule of Stone and my other children, which is wonderful. And I love getting to sleep with him and nurse him on demand. And we have a routine, but I really do follow his cues and set up my day around him unless we have something pre-scheduled. So I recently had a call with my team and said hello, and they got to see the kids. And I'm excited. Part of me is excited and ready to have my space and get my routine and have that built back in. And yet it is just overwhelming and so scary, which right? Challenge, what we're going to talk about today. And the other piece of what's going on in life is I recently started going to yoga again. It's taken me some time postpartum. I'm now 5.5 months postpartum with Stone to find strength in my body. I started actually reconnecting and building strength in my body probably about a month postpartum. I was doing very simple pelvic floor exercises a couple weeks after having him just to start and maintain some of that strength. He was a big baby. He came really fast, so I definitely had some pelvic floor weakness, I would say, with him. And I did feel that after each of my pregnancies, but this time I was very, very aware. I wanted to make sure I was focusing on regaining that strength and engaging those muscles sooner than later, because with Forrest, I didn't. And even with Lily, I don't think I did. And I didn't want to face the same issue. So it took me a while to get to a point where I felt I could do a flow. I would stretch here and there. I focused on strength more than yoga these last couple months. And shout out to the pregnancy and postpartum TV channel on YouTube. She's amazing. I'm going to link it below because I am still doing that. And she has brought so much strength back to me so quickly. So I finally felt like, hey, let's get back to the yoga studio. And there's a beautiful little yoga studio nearby that I really enjoy and I had done my prenatal classes with Stone. So I showed up and my first class back, this kind of speaks to who I am, was Hot Power 2. Like I went full throttle, but again, I made sure to do exercises right after having him and did strength core activations and videos multiple times a week. So I felt ready. When you get that call and your body is saying, yes, let's do this. And it was going to be hot and I hadn't sweated in so long. So I got there and happened to talk to the teacher and asked me some questions. And I told her I was so excited. This is my first class back after having my son. And her jaw dropped and looked at me and she said, "You know, this is Hot Power 2, right?" And I said, yes, I'm totally fine. I trust my body. And she still didn't believe me. I could tell she was trying to start to rack her brain of what cues can she give me. So I quickly stated, which I do often because I usually do harder classes being pregnant or postpartum. So I calmed her and said, I have my training. I have training in prenatal. I have my certificate. I'm all good. Don't worry about me. Cue the class. I will do what I can, break when I need, listen to my body. And I really highlighted, though, that I'm here because I want a challenge. That's why I chose your class. That's why I showed up. So she was really sweet. And I think it excited her because then she took that request and built the whole class around it. And I was so impressed. All of us in that class, there was probably 30 of us, just stepped up to the challenge. We brought it full force, gave it our all, and we rocked it. I was so impressed. I felt so strong. And shout out to that teacher and for recognizing where I was and trusting. I love when I find a teacher in a class that you can do that. But yeah, it was so inspiring and felt so good. So that was an example of an awesome challenge that I was nervous. I didn't know how well I was going to do or how I was going to feel, but it felt awesome. And now I'm trying to go about once a week to some type of yoga class. I'm not hot powering every week. I think I would just sweat and fall over. I have to nurse and be a mom. And I also love the sauna blanket. So I'm trying to mix it up and not sweat too often, but get it in there. Yeah, that kind of leads the way and was my inspiration. That yoga class was my inspiration for this podcast, truthfully, because it was so inspiring and it got me excited and I chose that challenge, right? But it was so simple. I felt so silly kind of being like, yeah, like I'm so jazzed and let's make this big effort around something that was so simplistic. But after having a baby inside of me for 10 months and then taking 5 months to regain strength, then come back to myself, getting to a yoga studio and a class for the first time was big, especially since yoga is such a key and supportive tool that I use in my life. So if you're sitting here and you're feeling like there is something that you're wanting to go for or bring into your life, I will just say go for it. Be smart, listen to yourself, do and take what precautions, modifications, whatever you need. But really, this is why I want to talk about challenges, because challenges are a part of life. When I really feel into this, I get the sense that we are here to be challenged. That is a massive reason that we've incarnated at this time, and in general, that we incarnate as souls on this planet because it is full of challenges. And those are important because it makes us grow. It brings this perfect constriction, this perfect force that is truly fertilizing a seed in us. If you can imagine, it is bringing the aspects that we need to push ourselves forward, to push ourselves into circumstances and situations that are uncomfortable. That I think if we had all the things taken care of for us in the day and we had nothing to worry about and we could just laze around 100%, like we would all do that. I think we can all agree if we can just be in pleasure and chill and have peace and joy and play and rest and calm, oh, we would choose that 100% of the time. But that's not why we're here. Like, we get to have those aspects and we get to pull that into our life and experience the joy and the fun and everything I just said. But we're here to grow, right? We're here to find ourselves and find and learn and relearn and fail and make mistakes and grow some more. And then here, let me just rip out your heart and let me have you feel this really deep emotion. I think challenges are the key to life. And yet I don't really feel, at least for myself, and I'm so curious how you all feel about this, it's not a word that I would really use in my day to day or about life. I think I can reflect and say there's been hard times and hard aspects that I had to grow and learn from. But when I get to the sense of it, I think this word challenge can really sum up what life is. And so I looked up the definition because I was just curious, and it said a challenge is something that needs great mental or physical effort to be done successfully and therefore tests a person's ability. And I would totally expand this definition to also include emotional and spiritual, right? I think it takes all aspects of a person to do something successfully and to really also be tested. I mean, it's testing you in every way. And so I'm just going to put that there for you to think about too. Another one that I found was a challenge puts you outside your comfort zone. It's a compression of self that can bring you into a growth zone. So everything I kind of talked about and am feeling when I'm reflecting on challenges. And I think that it's time we respect the mundane challenges, these challenges that go unnoticed, or we don't even respect them as true challenges. To my example in the beginning, I think oftentimes we only see a challenge as something that is a goal we set that is hard and that we're reaching towards and that we're moving towards. When in reality, I think almost every aspect of life can be seen as a challenge. And I hope that doesn't feel like it's belittling that word challenge, because I think there really is a great motivation in setting goals and reaching for something and then using that word challenge. Like, there feels like there's this energy and this weight behind how we've all decided to define challenge in our society as something that's big, grandiose thing that we're facing, and it crafts character. But truly, there are very simple things that we face day to day that are challenges that I think craft character just as much as that big, lofty goal. So yes, there are two different aspects of a challenge and how we can look at it. But that's what I really want to focus on today, and to highlight this because I'm facing one, and I started to get really down on myself. And the one I'm facing is the one I gave earlier, that it's me returning to work. It's me returning to this completely altering change of life. I've been so blessed and privileged to have 6 months. I'll totally honor that that is not the norm, but that's what I was given. And it's created a life that has sustained itself for 6 months. I mean, we've had this beautiful period, and it was hard. Raising babies, being a parent, those are their own challenges. But I'm just feeling this constriction because I'm worried. I'm nervous. I don't know how Stone's going to act. I think my other 2 kids will be all right and adjust because they've been through this before. I've worked a lot. As they've grown up, it won't be as much of an adjustment. But for little Stone, he's going to have a rough go. I'm going to have a rough go. Steven's going to have a rough go. And it's something that is making me question everything. It's making me wonder, why am I doing this? And then I realize, I don't have a choice in a way. Yes, obviously I have a choice. Of course, we all do always, but I don't have a choice because our livelihood is dependent around my job. I think at some point, maybe I could shift how I work or the amount of time I work. But right now, I need to go back full time, and I need to show up and we need to pay our bills and we need to have this as an aspect of our life, at least for this moment and the foreseeable future. This constriction that I'm feeling is something that brings up a lot of emotions as well. And that I think is in that definition, great mental or physical effort. It doesn't share just how emotional challenges can be and how important that is to reflect on it and give it space. What I've learned as I face challenges is they come in all size and form. And it gives me the reflection of, how do I persevere? How do I figure out what steps is right so I can show up at work, so I can show up for my family, be there for Stone as he navigates this hard, uncomfortable patch. He's in his own challenge. We are all in our own challenge as this comes. And what strength can I find? How do I pull on that when I am for sure going to be crying and stressed and worried and anxious and overwhelmed? How do I find the strength to continue? And when I think about it, it's just this knowing that right now I'm not in it. I'm about to be, and that's almost worse because I'm thinking about it. My mental state is worrying about it. And that's something that comes with challenges. It's something that is really mental. It is something that we think about, we process, we're trying to control, we're trying to craft the path forward. We're wondering and trying to set the steps to take and then reassessing again as we learn new things. And so that takes a lot of effort and it's overwhelming. And what I'm realizing is you have to funnel that energy down out of your mind and into your body. To be successful through a challenge and to meet it, we need to realize that it's not just physical, it's not just mental. We must bring that energy into our heart, into our feet, and expand into our whole body so we are fully embodied and ready to embrace it, embrace the discomfort that we surely will meet and we surely are meeting with any challenge that we face. Something else that comes up that I think about is remembering my why. In any challenge, it presents you with, why am I even doing this? Why should I show up? Why do I need to move forward? This is uncomfortable. This is hard. I don't want to do it. But we need to grow. We're here to learn. And not every challenge is worthy. That's another piece to know. Not every challenge is worthy. We get to have discernment to decide what challenge is a worthy challenge in my day to day. What challenge is a worthy challenge that I want to set as a goal to go for? And with that discernment brings perspective. It brings the understanding of our why, of the reinforcement and the motivation to continue, to say, this is not fun. This is confusing, upsetting, whatever emotion that it arises for you as you're meeting your challenge. I think reflecting and naming what those emotions are that you're feeling, and then reminding yourself, why do I do this? I do this. I'm going back to work because I love my family. I love my lifestyle. I have goals that I want to reach, and this is getting me there. This gives me a balance that I am happy to show up for. It's not my perfect dream job by any means, but it's a job that I've gotten to a space that supports me and supports my endeavors that I have personally, professionally, and that's important to me. And so that excites me. That reminds me, oh yeah, I got to this space of this beautiful position that is truly supportive with a team that's supportive, that I can't imagine having to go into an office to show up every day, to have a commute. Like, I get to work from home. I will be home. And yes, it's probably going to make it harder for me to coexist in this transitionary period until we're really all settled. But it also gives me the opportunity to go soothe my baby if he really needs it, to nurse him if he really needs it, to adapt as needed. Because that is another why. It's family. It's raising my babies. It's being here to watch them take their first steps or to have that achievement and reach their challenge and see them light up when they get that done. I mean, how exciting. And so it starts to calm me. And I hope that when you start to reflect too on your why and remember why this is a challenge you chose, that it brings you back to your heart, to your balance space of, oh, okay, all this emotion, all this worry, all this fear, I can navigate because I remember why I'm doing it. Something else I like to do when I'm worried is, and it kind of ties into that why, is find gratitude. Gratitude is such a simple thing to do, but so overlooked. And I think oversimplified in the sense that we kind of write it off as, oh yeah, gratitude. I'm totally grateful. I'm not going to think about it. When in reality, if I just stop and remember how freaking beautiful my life is and how I'm warm, how I have water, food, like all the simplistic things, clothes, laughing babies. Yeah, they stress me out and they're like parenthood is its own challenge. But if we can start to come back to those moments of remembering, oh, I'm safe, I'm held, I have gratitude because I have the opportunity to face this challenge. I just have the opportunity to even have this challenge. I have whatever it is in your life that you can be grateful for, whatever it is that comes to mind. Just start to remember a few things. I mean, it can be so simple, but it has to be truthful to you. And sometimes it might take, like, if nothing is coming up, it might take faking it for a moment. Like, pull that thread. Keep pulling the thread till you find something that hits your heart and you go, oh yeah, those are some of my favorite things. And when I think of having gratitude, it comes back to, again, I have the opportunity to work. I can work. I'm healthy enough to work. My births have gone wonderfully and my baby's healthy enough that I can leave him. I mean, how wonderful is that? He's fed. He's safe. He'll be taken care of. Oh, you breathe easier. It becomes less of a worry and it allows me to embrace and take the steps needed to get myself out of bed and to crawl to that office desk and start my day when it comes and weather this 2-week period of in between, knowing it's coming. I think something else that can feel really important is removing restrictions that you're feeling. So I think that's what gratitude and your why can also help with. But oftentimes I realize that I get really tied up with expectations, really tied up with wanting things to go a certain way, or I get locked up in this state of fear and nervousness, and I feel like I can't even move forward. Like, I can't even meet this challenge. I can't even attempt it because XYZ, all these things are freaking me out. And when I realize that that is happening, and when I can say, I'm literally making this like so many times harder on myself. I am causing myself to be in undue stress, rightfully so, right? It's a big change, but I realize that I am trying to control the situation before it has happened. I'm trying to control the outcomes before I even have started. And there are sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes I can control the outcomes or can put me on a path towards a certain outcome. But when we become really rigid in how we think and how we feel and how we speak and do, it restricts us. It does not allow for space and energy and flow and clarity and ease to come. And it's going to make our challenge 100 times harder. And it's not worth it. It is worth it to our mind who wants to control and micromanage. And especially if, like, I feel like moms and women, we are just way more on the spectrum of having this be our go-to mode. Some men, I'm sure, have this as well, but in my reflection of my friends and family, it's what I tend to see. Like, we are super task oriented. We are great multitaskers. We are good at lists. We see all the things and want to make sure everything is held. And that is why our houses run, right? Our lives run, because that is a beautiful gift and we are amazing. But it also gives us a tendency to start to get in our heads, to cause distress for ourselves, to overthink, to push the balance a little too much one way. And so it's important to just realize and take a check-in. Where are you limiting yourself? Is it a mental, physical, emotional, spiritual block? Is it something that you're nervous about, right? Where are you limiting yourself? What are you trying to over control? What expectations are you holding on to that aren't totally valid and true? And how can you remove those? How can you start to pull those into better clarity, or shift those thoughts and those things into more realistic and supportive modes? So check in. And something else that comes along with challenges is this uprooting and rising of emotions, especially what we would maybe call negative emotions, or emotions that we don't always want to feel. And it's important to check in as you are facing your day-to-day challenges. And this could be your kid not wanting to put clothes on. I'm going to give some of mine if you're not cluing into this. This could be your pet making a mess on the floor, and your husband calling because he has to pick up another shift and he's not going to be home for 4 to 5 more hours, or he's going to work doubles for 4 days in a row. And like, that's his own challenge, but that leaves you in your own challenge. You know, it could be any small thing. Every day can present a challenge, and a mundane one, right? Those are all pretty simplistic, but what's not is how they affect us, especially emotionally. I'd say that is probably, as we are facing challenges, what our biggest reaction point is emotions. We start to think about it, and then we start to freak out. And maybe this is not your mode as you face a challenge. Maybe this is just me, and I will totally own up to that. But I feel like this is more of a human reaction. Like, this is pretty common. And I say that because it often stems from how we were raised, right? How did our parents react to challenges? What were we shown? How were they emotionally capable of dealing with things? And we often take those on. Something that I can reflect on, and that happens to me when I face something that is overwhelming, is I start to have anger arise, and fear arise, and worries arise, and I become overwhelmed. And it's like this big bubble of emotion that I lose control in. I start to act out with how I speak. I start to stress, or my voice raises. I start to panic and feel like I'm out of control. How do I gain control? And just stress becomes this exhausting, frustrating experience. And in the moment, I feel it, but I just react. I'm just in pure reaction mode. And I think a lot of us, especially myself, I can get stuck there for quite a long time if I don't realize that I'm even there. It's just the circumstances have compressed me, and I go to my default as a child, my wounded inner self. I've lost control. I'm scared. I have to react in anger. That is, for me, my mode of reaction. And so I'd be curious to see if you can check in at that space as well. If you can say, what were some triggers I had this week? What are some challenges that I felt came forward that don't usually happen or, weren't part of my normal routine that felt hard, and check in on how you reacted. What space, what emotion did you go to? Where was your default? And I think this is really important because it is a lot harder to meet and be prepared and grow into a challenge when we are stuck in our emotions, especially these quote unquote negative, uncomfortable emotions. And I say quote unquote negative because yes, they feel negative, won't lie, but this is all just a learning zone, right? I think we try to find neutrality. We know in reality we are neutral and we experience both spectrums. And so who's to say what's negative and what's positive? But we are in a dualistic world. That I think we can all agree on. And that's partly why we're here. We have the dualism to learn. We have this dualistic reality because it pushes us to challenges. It is a challenge. Dualism is the ultimate challenge. How do we stay neutral as we face these polar opposites? If we just went along in our day and got to have our perfect day every day, nothing bad happened, quote unquote bad, like where would we be? Who would we be? I don't even know. Truthfully, I don't know what that world would look like because we just don't exist in it. So I just want to make that point. But the importance of feeling your feelings and naming them and understanding them. And then once you get that, obviously that has not shifted the emotion. You've put some awareness to it, which is amazing and hard enough. But now how do we release that? Or how do we shift it to a more neutral state or to a state even that's to the opposite spectrum where we feel excited, motivated, capable? I think though, what you really want to shoot for is that peaceful zone. So how do we bring that reaction to a point that is at a balance point within ourselves where you're probably not neutral, because I don't think a lot of us sit in neutrality throughout our whole day. We ebb and flow. That's normal. But get to a point where it feels you're capable of managing yourself. You're not defaulting to whatever that reaction was, like for me, anger, rage, and can find, again, ease, clarity, space in your moments to better move forward, to better grow, to better maintain yourself amidst the challenge you're facing. And something that I realized today when I was in a rage because I was exhausted and overwhelmed and everyone's crying and I've had no time to myself was I needed to step away. And I knew Stone would cry and I knew others needed me, and that was why they were partly crying, but I had hit my edge point. So I had help, had the baby go with Steven, and I came upstairs and I did a workout. I think for me, part of it is getting it to release, and that's through moving my body. The other piece that really helped was after I did that workout, I still didn't feel right. I still knew I had released some of it and I got some of that tension out, but I needed to change perspective. And how I changed perspective was I got the dog and I went outside and I walked her. It was snowstorming, but I think that was even more perfect for me to try to change perspective because no one was out. The wind was blowing, but it wasn't a crazy snowstorm, but it was snowing pretty good. And it was cold. It chilled me. It made me reflect because it was so quiet. It was so peaceful. Again, no one was moving around. I didn't encounter anyone else. It was just me and the dog, and I could have space. That change in scenery gave me space. So first I moved my body, then I found space, and then I got the baby back because he was not chilling. It was not okay. And I knew that, but I had enough bandwidth at this point to say I can now deal with this in a healthy manner. And I got the baby and I got him to sleep. And then I went in and I breathed and I got back into my body and I reflected, man, that felt crappy. man, I don't like feeling that way. Oh, I don't like how I talk to my children. I don't like how I can't show up for them because I can't even stand in myself without screaming, having a fit, overwhelmed, stress. I was fried. But now I'm breathing. Things have slowed. Okay, I can check in. That was some serious anger. This was a hard day, and I don't belittle myself. I understand. Like, unfortunately, that's my mode, and I want it to not be my mode. But it takes these moments to come back and reflect and remember I'm working on it. I'm human. This is a challenge. This is why we're here. This is normal. I'm normal. I'm doing my best. We are doing our best. Baby's asleep. He's safe. He needed mama. Mama gave nourishment. So now I'm nourishing myself. And I went inside and I visualized me on a beach. And this is what I wished I could have done in real life, but I couldn't. So I visualized it. And truly it helps. Again, don't discount it till you've tried it. But I visualized me clawing the sand. I mean, like a dog digging a hole, like as fast as I could, just exerting all of my energy, clawing into the sand, digging this hole. And then I ran to the water and I jumped in and I swam and there's dolphins and whales and they're reminding me I'm okay. It's okay. You're learning. We're here. You're safe. Let the water cleanse you. And I got out of the beach and I ran back to the sand. I still had energy. So I clawed and I clawed some more and I dug 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 and I dug. And then I collapsed down next to it. And I just breathed and I looked at the sky. And then I opened my mouth and both did this like in my mind, but I did it actually in real life. I opened my mouth wide like I was going to scream the biggest scream that you could do. Like I screamed inside, but the only noise I made was ah, right? Sounds weird, but oh my gosh. And I imagined this anger and the rage pull from my belly, come up through my throat and out. And I was just releasing. My whole intent was just pull all that anger, that whatever energy was left, and expel it. So I didn't need to actually scream. I mean, sure, that would have been amazing, but the whole house would have been freaking out. And I can't do that. I'm nursing a baby. But I did the act of it. And I visualized and I felt and I released that energy. And then I just breathed. And I was better. I found better. And I found peace. And that is key. Our emotions are key. When we are facing challenges, we must come back. We must understand how we feel because that is rooted in us and how we will be. We must understand and not control, but reflect, see, feel, move. We must flow it. Again, when we get stuck, when we restrict, when the energy stops, we are stagnant, we are unhappy, we are unhealthy, we're in a state that does not support the movement and the flow that gets us through this challenge, gets us through the moments that are hard. And it brings you to the present, it brings you to the space where nothing is wrong. Everything is okay. Even if my kids are screaming and they are crying, when I'm stuck, I react in rage. I react in stress. I will honor and admit that because that is something I'm learning and something I'm working on every day to try to be better. But it has been so ingrained in my body that it's going to take time, and I honor that. But when I can stop, pull myself inside, breathe, I don't react to the stressors that I'm facing in the way that I would when I'm just in pure reaction and overwhelm. Do you see that difference? I hope that makes sense. So that is one of the big challenges I'm facing. It's the most beautifully frustrating, hard one. And when I reflect, so many things can bring challenges. And I've been through so many challenges as of recent. But like I said, life is challenge, right? That's why we're here. That's why we're doing it. And we face it. I think other things that really can initiate this feeling of challenge, or that I want to bring up as challenge that we might not think about, are if you're facing a time of uncertainty, a time of loss, change, anything that really is putting you outside your comfort zone. But that is a good putting outside of your comfort zone, right? Again, what is a worthy challenge? And sometimes we don't get to choose. I don't get to choose a lot of things, right? I don't get to choose how much I'm going to sleep at night right now. I don't get to choose unexpected bills come forward, when the car breaks down, when a nail hits and cracks my windshield, like it just happened the last weekend, or when my daughter gets sick, when my kids get sick, when we face sickness as a household and I face sickness and have to push through, and when I'm relearning my body after a third pregnancy and birth that challenged myself, that stretched me and brought me to my heaviest weight, right? At times that's uncomfortable, where I feel weak and out of sorts and my clothes don't fit. And that's upsetting and hard and emotional. It's friendships where there's miscommunication or a feeling of not being seen, or they cancel plans when you really needed that moment out, or on the podcast when you have someone that's going to come on and then cancels, and you have to figure out what's next and trust that it's okay. That's just a challenge for me to shift, to learn, to grow. And while it can bring up, as I've shared, so many feelings of worry, lack, our coping mechanisms, procrastination, low self-worth, it also can bring strength, forgiveness, respect, grace, joy, gratitude. It can help us learn. It can help take us to that next space. And that's really what it's all about. If we never meet challenges, if we say no to everything that presents itself to us, and we don't go through the uncomfortable, we don't take the opportunity to listen, to move, to ebb, to flow, and ride those waves, life is going to be hard. Life is so much harder. It is so much trickier. Things are not going to go the way that you hope they will if you don't accept the reality of this life. And I think a lot of us, we have, thankfully. But it's a good reminder that we are very powerful, that we have many opportunities to try and try again, many opportunities to learn, to do different, to come back to ourselves, to fall, to fail, to make a mistake, and then do it again, do it differently, learn something. It kind of just brings life full circle in a way. And for me, at least, when I think about challenges in this way, it kind of takes the pressure off. And I know that might sound weird because it's hard, right? This is hard. It's uncomfortable. It's tricky. But knowing that I'm capable, I am supported, I have tools to lean on, I get excited to face challenges. I get excited because with challenges, the outcome is never known, right? Yeah, we can have an idea of where we're going or what might happen, but in all reality, everything's just expectation. And the other side of a challenge is an absolute unknown. And that's pretty awesome in the sense that we don't have control. Why are we trying to grab control where we don't need to have it? We control where we are in this moment. We control how we face what presents itself in this present moment, what we do to support ourselves in this moment, so then we can face and weather and conquer that challenge that comes. We do our best. And that's what's exciting to me. Because if it's worthy to you, it is worthy to do. And that is probably the most important thing. To check in and what is your why? And if this feels right to you, do it. Go for it. You will figure it out. Take the steps one by one. Stay present and see what happens. You're worthy. You're worthy of whatever you want. And you're worthy to meet the challenges. You're worthy and capable to see things through. But sometimes we just need that reminder. I don't think we do a very good job at holding and supporting each other always. To check in and say, how are you? What are you moving through? What is going on? Because we're so quick to just talk about the wins or to talk about the frustrations that are pretty surface level. But if you're listening, you're here to go deep, because I'm here to go deep. And we are here to really learn, feel, express. And so it's something that I hope I see more of. It's important that we ask these questions to each other, that we also reflect and show what are our challenges? What are we having a hard time with? Because then it normalizes that life isn't just all wonders and ease and opportunities that just fall out of the sky. It's hard work. It takes time. It's emotional ups and downs. It's the falling down and getting back up again and showing that process, because that's how we learn. We learn from each other. And it normalizes this reality that it's not about perfection. It's about learning and understanding and finding our way, whatever that looks like for each of us. I hope that by sharing this with you, even though to me, these are really mundane things, but they're so big in my life right now, I hope that that can bring clarity to you, to whatever you're facing, that maybe it seems very trivial and silly, or that you're embarrassed to even share it, but it's worthy to be heard and to be shared because you're going through it and you're worthy. So I'll let you know how this experience goes, how I embrace the challenges that I'm currently facing, what I learned from them. And I hope you too can reflect and remind yourselves that there are challenges big and small, but you're more than capable of facing them. You are more than capable of creating the life that you really want. And again, might not be the outcome that you are looking for, but I promise you it's going to bring you what you need. It's going to bring you the lessons, the learning, the insights, the growth to become who you're trying to become. But sometimes we don't know. And we just have to trust that what is coming is here to show us the way. We can release that control. We can release the worry of control, because none of it is in our control. We do our best. We show up. We love ourselves. We scream. And then we reset and we repeat. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending you all the grace and strength to face whatever challenges are coming your way, because you've got this. We've got this. We're doing it. We're showing up. We're being honest. And I think that's all we can really do. So sending lots of love your way, and I'll talk to you soon.